Welcome to the Encore. This week is a special edition with our church planning friend, Pastor Ernesto Alaniz of Flint City Church. I'm going to grill him about some questions about what it's like to be a church planner and how different his life is now. So, Pastor Ernesto, welcome, my friend.
It's great to be here, brother.
How are you today?
I'm all right, man. I'm all right.
Okay, so I just have to say, this is really bizarre and cool all at the same time. I know the world doesn't know this. You and I have had a lot of history together in different worlds. You have been at the Rock before I was here.
Yep.
We had an opportunity to work together. You was my boss.
It's true.
But now I got the control today.
I'm telling you, dude. He's got a list of questions. I don't know what's going to say, things I don't know what he's going to say.
And you said, do it live. You didn't even want any prep. He's like, just give it to me.
I like the Rorschach test, okay? Just put it up and I'll say a butterfly and it'll be great.
Right. I love it.
That's funny if you're a psychology major. It is, I promise you.
I know what the butterfly thing is, but I'm not a psychology major. I get it. So good to have you here. Honestly,
it's great to be here.
This is really cool to do this.
And before I get into anything, the reason I think one of the reasons I'm here is because the Rock Church has a lot of. I mean, in Fenton, they're a known quantity.
Yeah.
But the Rock has this heart that's. You don't see in many churches. Most churches are building empires. They want to collect more land and vassals, and they want to be Rome. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
The Rock has this crazy idea, this crazy heart to literally to give to the work of God with nothing wanted back. We don't need our name on your sign. We don't need glory from you. And the Rock, when my wife and I went to plant Flint City Church, the Rock decided to support us financially. They told families, if you want to go to the Rock, go to Flint City. Go to Flint City and serve with them. We had families come for like a year, pilgrim families that literally the Rock gave up their tithes. They literally wanted nothing in return, just wanted to see God's work established in a new location.
Yeah. And
that heart you rarely see in a church, because the Rock is truly for God's kingdom, not for their own. And for that, I'm grateful for the ministry of the Rock. At Flint City Church, our people know that there are churches in America that pray for us and give for us to exist, and the Rock is one of them, so I'm glad to be here this day.
That's awesome. That's good to hear, and I'm glad to be a part of it. I was not a part of the church when you were planted, so some of that you might have answered, but we're going to talk about that a little bit, is why would you do a church plant? So for you, and I'll get to some deeper questions in a minute, but for you, you're going, all right, I'm ready to plant. This is what I want to do. God's called me to do this. Why would you go through the Rock Church, have them plant you, as opposed to any other organization, or you just going out on your own? For you, what was the benefit or the reason that you did that?
Man, now that answer has a lot of inside baseball. I don't want to bore everybody.
Okay.
But here's the deal. So the question is not why plant churches versus pastor and established church,
correct.
But why be pastored with under an umbrella of an existing church versus a church planting network. That's the question.
Church planting network or no network at all. You just say, I'm going to go figure this out.
First of all, I think you're going to plant a church, you need somebody. In the Bible, in the book of Acts, when Paul and Barnabas go out on the first missionary journey, the church of Antioch provides them a covering. They literally have a letter of recommendation from the church. Right. So when they meet people, like if they go to Galatia or Ephesus, not like, we're crazy people and come to our church. They have they have apostolic authority over them. They're under the authority of an existing godly church. That is a big deal. Being under umbrella, being under authority, everyone needs that. Because if you're not under somebody, it's easy to go nuts. So I wanted that accountability. I wanted someone to be able to call me on my crap. That's what I wanted. That it's important because I think everyone needs that in their life. Now, why Rock versus a network? I looked at a few networks, and networks are great because there's camaraderie, there's brotherhood, but a lot of networks had philosophies built into them. One of the most common philosophies I see in church planning world is launching large. So they want to launch with $100,000, $200,000. They want to launch with like between 300 to 1,000 people on day one. That's so they can afford a few staff. So those models, the launching large model. Right. I'm not saying it's evil or bad. I'm not with that crew. I think a lot of that model succeeds by just cannibalizing local churches. Like I'll take your members raw, and I don't want to be that guy. I want to reach new people for Christ. Okay. And so I really, instead of doing the launching large, I wanted to do the plant a seed kind of model. So go into a community, meet people, start a Bible study. Like Angie and I started a Bible study in our home. And at first it was 4 families, and after a month, 1 family left, so it was down to 3. So we went the wrong direction at first.
Wow.
And I wanted to be able to meet people. I worked jobs around the city to meet people. I worked, subbed. I substitute taught, in the city. I just did random jobs here and there just to meet people, to walk alongside people who might not know Jesus. And our prayer and hope was that these people that we met would meet Christ, and we began a new community of believers.
Yeah.
And so we began very small. In the first 6 months, I think it was 3 families for like 6 months. That's discouraging. That is not awesome, But then something happened, and God I guess he just touched it and said, okay, you've been faithful, and during that 3 months, these 3 families, and we're all together. These 3 families that were together, we're all still in it. One of the guys started with me is being ordained as a pastor this year, which is crazy.
That's awesome.
Another one's a deacon, which is great. But so we wanted authority. We also wanted the freedom to do things small and not be in trouble. We wanted to do a philosophy that's not really beloved by the networks. The networks have a certain way to do things. You got to fall into their paradigm, and we didn't fit in the paradigms.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like we got interviewed by a lot of different people. One group said we were too this and not enough that, so we just didn't fit anywhere. So when we realized we didn't fit, we knew we wanted to do something small and let it just organically grow over time. Yeah. We thought, we'll ask a few churches in the area if they want to partner with this new plant, and the Rock was one of them, and the Rock was in a place of health where they could provide, a printing could be done in this office. Our mail came here for the first year, and some of it still does, and I'm sorry. So this place could provide us some structural help in those first 12 months, and that was very, very helpful.
Yeah, so we have this, and you kind of touched on this a little bit, but the mindset of like wanting to see men raised up, have a desire to preach, and have the ability to send them out autonomously eventually, right? And so talk us through a little bit about your journey time-wise. When was Flint City planted? What was day one, if you have a date to that roughly? And then we're going to talk about some of the timeline and your vision behind that. I'll get there.
Okay.
Timeline.
I don't know the dates, but we came into Flint, and for a good 6 months we were in our house. And at first there was very little movement. And I think the first 6 months we didn't even add, like it was odd. But there came a point where people started coming. We get about 30 people in our house, and our house is jacked. I mean, with kids upstairs, my wife's doing like kids' church with the kids upstairs. Yeah. They're wrecking the kids' rooms every single Sunday. It's glorious. Yeah. But we're hitting the walls in every way. So we got to go to a place. We got to rent a building. So we rented a place. We were there for, probably a year. Didn't go great. Like, you think when you open a building, there's going to be like, people are going to say, okay, this is a real thing. We're renting space, only there on Sundays. It was public sphere. And we thought the public sphere would make it even more attractive to unbelievers. Yeah. We're not in a church. We're in a local theater in town. But we weren't around any houses. Okay. We're out kind of this weird cultural district.
So you don't have an exact date, but what's the year of this? We're talking 3 years ago?
It's 3 years ago, so 2016.
Yeah.
Okay. So we move to this place, and the church kind of gets to 60 and just stays there. And it's not bad, but we're just struggling to... Like, we're doing a lot of outreach, and we're not seeing many people come confess Christ, not seeing many baptisms, and we're wondering we want these people saved, and we're not doing it well. Yeah. And that's a hard thing. What are we doing wrong? And we're faithful in the small things, of course, but so we're praying. Well, then this place the lease ends, they can't renew it because the city changes, and we can't find a place. We're like 3 weeks out. I don't know what to do. 60 people is too big for my house. I'm really scared. And Carriage Town, a local homeless shelter in the city of Flint, they called us up and they said, I reached out to them a year before, and I wanted to meet there. And they said, we had a church come into our place a long time ago, and it was a bad experience for them. They didn't trust churches to come because it was so bad experience. They thought churches lie, not going to fulfill their part of the bargain. It's going to be a hassle and a mess for all their staff. Well, I was on the way to sign a lease with a guy who was later indicted for stealing all this money from churches. I'm waiting to give this guy my money. And Harristown calls me and says, come and see us. I come over their place. We walk their facility, and they say, let's try this. And that was by 2017. Okay. 2 years ago. Okay. And that step into the Harristown neighborhood, I don't know what it was. We tried a lot to go on the east side at first. and just we couldn't make any inroads. I grew up there, but the neighborhood's very different, and there's a lot of it's a hard neighborhood, and we just saw very little fruit serving in there. Well, we went to Carrollton neighborhood, which is also a very poor neighborhood in our city, and for some reason there's no church in Carriagetown. They don't want a church in Carriagetown, and so we start meeting there, and God starts opening doors for us, and we start seeing people getting saved, people responding to the gospel, getting more influence in the city. It's crazy how all these doors open at the same time. Yeah. So 2 years ago that happened, and since then, we've seen many people confess Christ, lives changed, people baptized, and the last 2 years has been a tear. It's been a run. We went from about 60, 70 attendance to about 120 weekly.
It's great.
In the last 2 years. And that's not a sign of everything, but it's something. You know, it shows that there's the crowd is bigger. People are coming. They've heard of the place. That's kind of the timeline. It went from house for about 6 months, building for a year with very little growth, and then I would say so. Then the first year, then the 2 years at Carriagetown have been wonderful.
Awesome.
That's our timeline.
What is your vision of the church? Every church has. I know you, especially coming from the Rock. We have the same heartbeat, similar heartbeat, I should say, as far as like wanting to see souls saved for Christ, wanting to see people discipled. But the functionality, the methodology, how that looks in every town could be different. So what is the vision for Flint City Church, and how is that taught to your people?
That's a tough question, bro. We have a guiding statement that we live by. We always say that we are for Jesus, we're for Flint, and we're for God's kingdom. That's kind of our mission. We were for Jesus because we believe that he is the Christ, Son of the living God. We believe that Christ is the answer for our city. We are financially smoked. We have no jobs. Our water's jacked. Our stinking city board, city council is jacked. I didn't get to hear it because it's true. The city's a lot against it, okay? There was a documentary done, Flint Town, on Netflix, rated R. Don't watch it because it cusses. But there's a lot against our city. But people think the answers are better schools, more money, more tax base. But listen, we believe the answer is Christ. That individuals need to meet Jesus to be saved. So we are for Jesus. We are for Flint. So we believe. When I first went around Flint, a lot of the pastors, and they're not bad. It's just kind of I saw it happen. People had been in Flint for so long, they moved out of the town, out of the city limits to find more land, better schools, because schools are hard in Flint. But I met a lot of pastors who live outside the city. That's not evil people or nothing, you know? Everyone's got to make decisions for their own family. But I'm like, if we're going to do this, we got to be in town. And I've always been that kind of guy. If I'm going to minister somewhere, I got to live in the crap with everybody. So in Flint, we're in the waterlines with everybody. That's the way it is. So when we say we're for Flint, we tell every person that comes up to Flint City Church, if you want to be a member of this community, you got to either live in the city, play in the city, or work in the city. You got to have some stinking coin in the game, because we don't want people coming from the outside suburbs, coming because like the way I preach, then leaving and having no influence on the people.
In the town.
That's not gonna help the people. The people of Flint are used to being abandoned. And I've seen a few churches close because people come in to do ministry and then leave during the week and have no weekly influence. We need people in the workplaces. So we're for Flint. We want to be established in the community. We've been offered a few buildings outside the city. We even offered a few buildings for free outside the city. We refuse them because we're not going to leave our neighborhood. That's good. We minister to too many homeless people and too many addicts. If we were to leave, if we go too far away, they can't get to us. You know, when we find a building, one of my big focuses is I want a bus stop next to our building. So for Flint and for the kingdom, just like the Rock, we want to sow into other ministries. I have a prayer and hope. I have a lot of I have a lot of love for Saginaw and Pontiac, also sister cities and Broken. I would love someday to see church planners go there and us be able to financially support them or send people out there. If one of our elders, we're raising elders right now, if one of my pastors came up to me right now and said, I feel called to plant a church on the east side, I wouldn't feel like he's betraying me. I wouldn't think, I'm not all about this no compete clause, 10 miles from my city. Forget that crap. It comes from an old world, and that old world was empire versus kingdom, you know? The thing is, if someone came to me and said, I want to plant a church east side, I'm like, well, how can we help you do it? Because the Flint needs more healthy churches. That's cool. If Flint City Church could be a part of seeing more small works done, we would be for it. We wouldn't be against that at all. Now, as far as, so that's our generic vision for Jesus, for Flint, for the kingdom. How that plays out, I don't know, because what I'm still doing, this is really weird. Because we're so young, we're able to ask the question, what is God doing, and how can we join his work? So we try a lot of things. If this doesn't play, we'll go, okay, this doesn't work, let's try something else. It's okay to try and it not go and try something else. Yeah. So we have not found the secret sauce yet, you know. We're still looking at things and trying things out to see, does this work? Does the community need this? Our hope is to be a blessing to the community, but the good works we do for a purpose. We want people to see our good works and give glory to our Father who's in heaven. We want to be the light of the world. Yeah. So we're still looking to see, like, some things we know don't work, like not don't work, but are not needed.
Yeah, yeah. And like, for you, could be different.
In our community, we don't need to do food because there's some good guys doing food. We don't need to seek to recreate the wheel. We don't need to do clothing because there's good guys doing clothes for our people. So we're trying to find what things are still needed by our community. I don't want to just start a food pantry and say, well, this is our food pantry. You know? Yeah. We send people to the guys doing it well. We send money to that ministry and believe what they do and partner with them, you know? So
and for the record, nobody's got it figured out. Like, we're all still trialing it, right?
Some people, and there's some things people have found things that are cool.
Yeah.
We're still really seeing, you know, and I'm learning our city still. I grew up in Flint. I haven't gone for 20 years. So I've been back for 3 years now. But the city changed a lot. I'm still learning the ins and outs. I'm learning the economics, the culture. It's a very unique place. I'm still learning her. Yeah. So I don't know what Flint City is going to be in 5 years. I don't. Right. I mean, I don't know the next move for us as a people. But our main, I guess, keep the tracks we're on, the track keeping us on the straight and narrow, is we're gospel, you know, for Jesus, gospel proclamation. For Flint, we're meeting the needs of our city and our neighborhood. And for the kingdom, we're investing in other people doing work in our area. We're partnering with other ministries because we know we're not the only people in Flint preaching Jesus, and we want to help others do well as well.
That's good. So, real good. All right, let's go behind the curtain a little bit. Okay. We'll get a little personal with you. Oh! So you have pastored through the Rock, through other churches in a bigger setting where you're around a big team. It's not 100% your vision. All of that. What are the things that when you said, all right, I'm going to Flint. This is my church. What are the things that you did not foresee that you were like, oh my goodness, like this is not what I thought it would be? And we'll hit some positives, but I'm going to start in some negatives first. So, what are some things you were like, oh my goodness, this is hard?
One of the things that's hard is money. Our people are from Flint. Our per capita giving is lower than most places in America. Okay. Even people are faithful. Like, I used to live in Waterford, pastor in Waterford, and the per capita, like, what people made per capita in Waterford is different than what people make in Flint, okay? So if an average family in Waterford, mom and dad working together make 100 G's. In Flint, mom and dad working together make 50 to 60 G's, okay? And they're fighting to hold 50 G's nowadays with insurance. It's brutal. It's just brutal. So the money thing, I realized we're never going to be able to build a big building. We're never going to have $1 million in the bank. But we're going to be, that's not who we're going to be. So money was a thing that I was surprised that we make less, so people give less. And our people are faithful. The people who are the members of Flint City Church are fantastically generous to each other and to the church. But we all have less. Like, I make less, they make less, the jobs pay less in Genesee County than in Oakland County. And so it just makes budgets less. We've seen 5 churches close in the last 3 years. You know, these people come to the city, and the city eats them alive. It's just what the city does. So I guess one thing was financially that was. But what's awesome in Flint is even though I make a lot less, living costs less. The houses cost less. If you don't, you can get a mortgage for next to nothing and survive. Yeah. You know. Yeah. So money was a thing. I would say the coldness of the gospel was a surprise. You go to a suburban environment, and you talk to someone in line. There's generally going to be kindness back, a general courtesy. People are very civilized in a suburban way. That's not a bad thing. It's just kind of, and there are believers walking around, people who are at least culturally Christian. Flint. A friend of mine told me that Flint is considered one of the most post-church cities in Michigan. It's a place that really feels abandoned by the church. So there might be some old faith there, but no one goes to church anymore. Like it's the numbers of who attends on a Sunday are very, very low in the city of Flint. People just don't go. Churches are small. The average church size in Flint is much smaller than the average church size in the nation. The average church size in America is like 80. Probably in the city is probably 30. Yeah. And so I meet people, and I try to be bold with my faith, and I'm surprised at the resistance to the gospel and the resistance to being a part of a community of faith. Some people might say, I love Jesus, but the church, I hate the church. And we've met a lot of Christian refugees who've been in the church for 10, 20 years and no desire to go back because they got burned. Yeah. Some preacher robbed them. Some preacher blew them up.
Right.
So that close to the gospel is surprising because I have been more actively evangelistic in Flint than I ever have in my whole life. I'm meeting people. I'm being bold in conversation and seeing less fruit than I saw when I was less evangelistic. Wow. Because the city is that cold to the gospel. Yeah. And God's going to use all his people doing work together to change that. But initially, there's a coldness in the city. And it's just a hardness from being abandoned. Flint is a city. It's hard to shake us because, like, whenever the Black Lives Matter movement happened, we're getting into it.
Go for it.
there was a protest all over America, right?
Yeah.
Not so much in Flint. Everyone feels like it's always been bad. Like it's just the way life is. Like, you get beat up and shot. Like it's almost a resignation to the unjustness of the world versus a shock at the injustice of the world. Yeah. So the coldness was a surprise to me.
Okay. Wow. So tell me what for you was that you could tell a story or types of things that are like the thing that you're going, this is why I'm here. Like those stories of joy that hit you and go, man, it's been rough here and I've had some discouraging moments or tough times, but this is why I do what I do.
Man, I gotta be careful because there's stories are people.
I get it. Yeah, I get it.
I don't want
you can be vague or
I don't want to take people's stories and play them for the world to see. In city life, I think I don't probably suburban life too, but in city life, even though there's more people, it's very lonely. If you go to Chicago or New York where there's people just thick on the streets, there's still extreme loneliness. There's so many people, yet you're alone. Flint has the same thing. People live in their little homes and their neighbors don't know them and they live and die to themselves. And so in Flint, we've met a lot of people who are cut off from the world and bringing them to Christ and bringing them to his church. Because I'm going to say something crazy here. As much as we proclaim Christ, we believe the only place to be a Christian is in God's church. You can't do it anywhere else. Like some people who say, well, I love Jesus at the church, well, then you don't know what the church is. And you know who Jesus is because Jesus died for his church. You got to be in the community, be part of the community, be part of the family. So seeing people get connected into a godly community and begin to use their gifts, begin to heal from wounds past. I think there's people in my life who were just forgotten by the world, fell through every net society has, and the church catches them, the Church of God, and not even me, but other believers, groups, meeting in homes across the city. I watch people, I see their souls begin to shine with Jesus, and it blows me away. And that creating a family of God in a city where family is kind of gone. It brings great joy. And I don't know. That's just a generic answer to your question.
That's good though. For us as the planting church, the sending church, like sometimes we're just wondering that, like we trust you and we sent you, but we don't know what happens every day.
Right.
So we're trying to hear these stories, and so this is small. Just a small example, but I know I went to lunch with you, I think it was in the summer, sometime last summer, and big city of Flint, I don't know where I'm at, we're just out and about walking the streets and go to a restaurant, and there was just this family, husband, wife, boyfriend, I don't know who it was, with a little baby, and I just remember they just kind of bolted over to you and was like, hey, Pastor Ernesto, hey man, I'm sorry I wasn't there on Sunday, I'll be there next week, and I just thought, I just remember thinking, dude, there's effectiveness happening here, and I just wanted to share that with you because I thought that was cool. From our perspective, obviously we trust you, but you just never know what's happening, and you see that, and you're going this dude's out in the streets, meeting people, talking with people.
Well, the thing is, I mean, we don't have a building. We can't say, come. We have no temple to draw men to, okay? Right. We have to go into the life of people to find them. Mm-hmm. And so one thing we're doing as a church is we don't ever do our own, like, trunk or treat or Easter egg hunt because we don't have the money, don't have the space, got nothing. Yeah. So we love to just kind of go into the city stuff and minister in their environment. Yeah. So the Crim, biggest race, there's thousands coming for the big Crim race. We're there cheering everybody on, giving water in the name of Christ. We're in superhero run this year, superhero run. Our entire children's church will be out there in their children's church costumes, giving balloons to kids, and just being a presence in the city's life, in their big, the superhero fun run is hosted by the Advocacy Center, which is a foster care, help kids in domestic violence. We partner with them because we believe they're doing good work in the city. Yeah. So we get to just do a lot of things on other people's turf. Our name's not on it. Right. We don't own it. Right. But people get to know who are these people and what are they doing here. And I love that kind of stuff. That's really good. Yeah.
Okay. Man, I have a lot of questions. I cannot believe we're running. Should we break the rules and go past 30 minutes?
You got to keep the rules, dude.
Okay. Let me ask you a final question.
Paul's all about rules, so let's do it. I'm just kidding.
This is the final question I wanted to ask. And so somebody who has in their heart, I want to plant a church.
Holy cow. Okay.
You know where this is going.
Let's do it.
So they're sitting out there. I'm sitting under the preaching, and I feel this burn, and I feel this passion. All right. What's the advice you would give them? And first and foremost, the questions that I get a lot is, how do I know this is from God? Because, dude, I got a passion to eat a dozen donuts. It's probably not from the Lord. That's just
do it. So this is over. No, just kidding.
I might make it happen. What would you tell that person? How do I know this is from the Lord? And what advice would you give for somebody saying, I'm compelled to preach the gospel and to plant?
Okay, first, there's a great book called Am I Called by Kraft, I believe his name is. Am I Called? Forward by Matt Chandler. Great book. But I'll say this. First, you got to ask the question, are you really called to be a church planter? Just wanting to do something cool because everyone's doing it. It's kind of like now church planting is kind of sexy, kind of awesome,
Right.
Can I say that on
You did.
Encore?
You said it. So
it's just kind of like it's the new hip, cool Christian thing.
Yeah.
It's like restless love. It's the flavor of the month, Hey! But listen, if you are feeling called to be a church planter, here's a couple of questions for you. Have you told anyone the gospel of Christ in the last year? Mm-hmm. If you've proclaimed the Christ to no one in your workplace, in your family, in your neighborhood, you have no business planting a church. If you don't know how to proclaim Jesus to people you're meeting, that's what church planter is, an evangelist. Yeah. If you're not sharing Christ, if you want to go and just have an opportunity to preach, go to a jail or an old folks home, okay? If you want to plant a new work of God in a new location, you better be able to know how to talk to unbelievers the things of God. Like, you don't want to just cannibalize you don't want to have the best band, the best kids program, and steal everyone from the street from yourself. That's not true kingdom growth. That's cannibalism, okay? Mm-hmm. So I'd say, have you told anyone about Jesus? If not, we'll start. I would say talk to people like you talk to your pastor or leaders and say, do you see on my life giftings towards leadership, preaching, or evangelism? Because you need those giftings. You got to be a preacher. You got to be an evangelist. You got to be a leader to do this thing, because church planting is really, really hard. It's lonely. It's discouraging. The wins are small at first, and it's exciting, but it's tough. Man, I see church planters fall and fail all the time. So I'd say first, ask people around you, do you see it in me? Ask yourself the question, do I preach? Have I seen anyone saved in my life ministry in the last few years? Am I discipling anyone? If I'm discipling no one, what am I thinking about planting a church? I'm not doing the work now. Why would I do it then? Right. So that's a big thing. Next, you got to find a crew. A church planting network, I'd say the best place to find any kind of first steps is a thing called Exponential. It's a church planting conference, happens in Chicago, Orlando every year. Go to that thing, you meet all the networks in one shot. You can go there and every network in the stinking country is there. Stinking Stadia is there, and Converge is there, and the SBC guys are there. You can meet these people and see, do I fit with you? And they will test you and see, do we see the gifting on you? That's important stuff. Right. So you want a local church that has your back. Find a crew to plant with. Like, I happen to have the Rock. I have Emmanuel Baptist. We have, First Baptist Holly. These churches that have come around us, and they pray for us with leadership. you don't want to do this alone. I don't feel alone. When I'm hurt, I ask prayer from the churches that support us. So do I got the giftings? Do I have the people? And then pray about a place. And if your local church says we see the need, we see the gifting, and you find a crew to do it with, I say jump in, man. I'm all about.
That's awesome.
I'm all about dying for the faith.
Yeah.
Even if you go out there and sell everything you own and try with your hardest and fail miserably, why not fail miserably doing things for God than just sitting around and being safe?
That's good.
So I'm about it.
I appreciate those words. And so, like in the beginning too, you had said too, from where you came from, let us be a part of that if we can be in any way. Let your local churches be a part of it. Not that we have all the answers, but we want to be able to walk with you in all of that. Ernesto, thank you for being a part of this today. There's
great, dude.
A million more questions that people might want to know. And so you can check out your website. We'll put that on the link below. And email Pastor Ernesto too. Just give him a bunch of questions and grill the guy for next week if you want him. So
sounds awesome.
Thanks for joining us today. Next week, Pastor West will be back with a sermon series maybe that he's getting into, and we'll see you next time on the Encore.